remember just said to myself one day, is there any rule that says I can't have my own association? Like, why can't there be a photo association? And I looked it up and there was no rule that said you couldn't start one.
So as it turns out, an association isn't just for big corporate industries. Well, hi there, and welcome back to Side Hustle Hero, the podcast that inspires action and helps you to grow your side hustle into a thriving income stream. I'm your host, Joan Posivy. In our last episode, my guest, Cathi Nelson, walked us through how to start a photo organizing business, from initial costs to how to find clients to potential revenues. You'll recall she stumbled into this as her side hustle after being asked repeatedly by friends to help them organize their photos. Eventually, one of them said, "You should charge for this." And she did, turning her favors into a thriving business. Fast forward a few years, and that side hustle not only grew into a full-time six-figure career, but also became the foundation for something even bigger. Along the way, Cathi created what I describe as a mashup between a traditional association and what we think of today as a membership community. Her creation, now known as the Photo Managers, boasts over 700 members and has become a hub for connection, education, and growth in her niche. Today, Cathi shares the story of how she got the idea to start her association, what her first steps were, and how she's grown it into the global membership it is today. And be sure to stick around after my conversation with Cathi, where I touch on key considerations to help you decide if creating an association or a membership community, or maybe a hybrid, could be the perfect addition to your side hustle growth strategy. Now here's my conversation with the founder of the Photo Managers Association and author of Photo Organizing Made Easy, Going from Overwhelmed to Overjoyed, Cathi Nelson. I do want to ask you about the Photo Managers Association. How did you even get the idea to start association?
It was a dilemma. It was not something that I always said I didn't wake up one morning and say, today I think I'll create an association. When people started finding me, we all called ourselves the personal photo organizers. I called myself not a professional. I called myself a personal because I felt like photos were personal. So all these early people, when they would ask me to teach them, I gave them like my brochure. I think it was like $100, and they would send me a check, and I'd give them a business card and my brochure, and we'd do phone calls because it was before Zoom was even that big of a deal. And eventually I went to an attorney to find out, people kept saying, are you, protecting your intellectual property? And so I went to an attorney and they said, well, you can't, if you call yourselves the same things, you look like you're a franchise and this is illegal. You can't do that. And I was just, terrified, like I was doing something illegal. They charged me a lot of money to tell me that. In retrospect, they were not very ethical themselves. But so I was terrified. And so I had become a member of the National Association of Professional Organizers called NAPO when I learned about organizing, and I wanted to, understand better how that worked. And I was attending their meetings, and nobody there talked about photos in those days. And I remember just said to myself one day, is there any rule that says I can't have my own association? Like, why can't there be a photo association? And I looked it up and there was no rule that said you couldn't start one. So I just did. I just said, and then that way there, I was able to say, we're the big tent that will create the certification and all the training, but everybody has their own business name. And that was the reason why I chose to run it like an association. Today, those are like more, the word membership communities are big today. That didn't exist when I started this.
Right.
But it was really my way to protect myself. I knew I didn't want to be a franchise creator, and I didn't even know how to do that. So everybody has their own name. And so they pay a membership dues to the association. And that is how I started it.
Wow. And so that sent you down that rabbit hole. Okay, if I do this, how am I going to create this association? Right. What were your first steps?
Oh, gosh. I came up with the name, the Association of Personal Photo Organizers. We've had 3 name changes now. So, and I knew I wanted to have a directory where people could find, if people could search on the directory. So I found a good web designer to help me figure out how to make a directory on a website. And I also knew, again, that a conference would be really important, that because of my experience in seeing that when people, it's lonely being an entrepreneur. It's lonely being a solo entrepreneur, period. And we need each other. People whether you're listening to this, whatever business you're in, get together with other small businesses that are struggling or, having the same challenges, because you can really help each other. So I thought, you know what, we should have a conference. I'd never done a conference. I just decided I'm going to have a conference. And I found a little hotel in Chicago, and I just put it out there and people came, and, it just kept growing from there.
And the conference was about photo managing?
Yes. And at those days, I didn't have any photo managers teaching. I brought in outside experts to speak on all the different topics because we didn't have anybody who had been doing it long enough. Now we just looked at our submission for our 20 breakouts that we'll have at our conference in San Diego, and it's all photo managers teaching other photo managers the skills of photo managing. We could bring in outside speakers, but we don't need to anymore. We have the experts within our community. That was like our third conference, I think, when I realized, wow, we're getting big enough that we have enough members that have experience. I followed two schools of thought. A rising tide lifts all boats, and we're collaborative, not competitive. So the message I would give to all our members when they were joining as an association is that we're going to grow this together. We're pioneers. We're figuring this out, and we are. We just had a conference in Amsterdam that was put on by our Europe group. There was 18 countries came, and I didn't go, but I was able to help them from a distance. And again, it's that philosophy together and our Australian group is going to do the same thing now. It's that message that we're all in this together. And that there's way too many clients. So the community itself has grown up the community. The members themselves have created what we have.
Right.
So that's been a really wonderful experience.
Can I ask you how many members you have?
Yeah, we have 700 or so members right now, currently, and mostly in the U.S., but Canada, Europe is growing, Australia, South America is still a small group, but I think that'll start to grow. We were mostly women, but that's changing. We have more and more men joining. So, and the average age is probably 40 to 60 is the age. And it's interesting in this survey we just did, the demographic that hires the client tends to be the demographic that they are, which makes kind of sense, right? The person that I'm going to be communicating with is going to be more in my demographic in sense of being my customer. But
right.
And we have members, all over. But we have many parts of the country where we have no members either. So we're not.
Yeah, because around 600 a year, is it?
It's $599 a year. Then you're my customer. And my goal is never leave the association unless you quit, unless you don't want to do this. So we really work hard to make sure there's great value for those. I have a PR firm. I've had I just got the report. We just had 5 different TV programs that our members are being sent to. I do everything I can to market for our members, to introduce them to the companies and the products and services that they need, and then ongoing training every day on a regular basis.
Yeah. How did you build and grow the association from those early days? You mentioned in the first conference. How would you get word out for something like that? Yeah.
I spoke and traveled to every possible conference I could. So I went to the National Association of Professional Organizers, photographers, National Association of Senior Move Managers. I would speak on, how to add this as a niche in your business, or how to, that was really the way that I did it. It's been grassroots marketing from day one. It still is in many ways. I mean, we're still.
Yeah, because it's not even, I'm just thinking of especially in those early days, you're looking at an association where the members really don't even exist yet. The photo managers,
They didn't. We didn't. So we have members that have come to every conference and they laugh. I mean, and they have created the industry themselves. Some of them were the people I knew in the scrapbooking world. When we stopped taking analog photos and started switch to digital, it happened really quickly and people weren't prepared. Like Kodak, went out of business. It's, all the 1-hour photo labs. It was a terrible time in those years, in the 2009, 10, 11. It was a very steep drop, and people were looking for ways they had customers, they had people they knew, and they were looking for other opportunities. They were used to selling a product for a commission as opposed to selling their time as a service. And so I saw that need to make that switch. So in the early days, now it's not like that at all. People come to us from so many diverse backgrounds. It's amazing. Usually they're the family storyteller, but in those early days, that was the beginning stages of how I found people. And then people found out about it and other people found out about it. I feel like we could have thousands more members than we do and how many years we are. I actually get hard on myself, like, why don't we have 5,000 members? But we will. People have always said we will. I think we will. We're still teaching people about what it is that we do.
Do you do all the administration for it?
No, I have 3 employees at this point. No, I can't. It's too big now for me to do it by myself. But they're remote. I have a full-time person in Tennessee, one part-time in she's now just going to North Dakota, and then one in Vancouver, Canada. So we are able to be a remote team, and they help, with support emails and running the CRM and all the back end things like that and all that. Yeah.
So that you can focus on basically growing the membership and serving the membership.
Yeah. And partnering with the companies that we partner with and planning the conference and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. How long was it before you hired that first person?
That was a long time. And I probably should have done that sooner. And that's not uncommon for small business. I would have, in fact, I probably should still be adding more even than I have to really grow. But I was scared. I didn't, I was terrified of like putting somebody on payroll and what if they don't work out? So it was, I guess, 8 years before I actually, I did subcontractors, would do little pieces of it.
Yes.
But finally I ended up doing, I've invested in a lot of coaching over the years. I still invest in coaching, because I didn't have any background in running a business like this. So I've learned it all. I'm still learning.
What was your work at one point before you got into this?
I sold advertising for the local TV stations in my 20s, right out of college until I became a mom. And then I decided I wanted to be home with my son. And because he was adopted, I wanted to create a life book. So that's how I got into scrapbooking. So then I did that business. But even when I look back, I was like the high school photographer for my yearbook in high school. And in college, I wanted to write and produce documentaries. So in many ways, there's a theme that runs through my life around this topic.
Yes.
I made all the photo albums for my family. I made photo albums for my friends in high school. I was definitely that person. And that's a lot of the members that we have. They're like, they'll say, I'm that person. And then they're like, oh my God, I found big people. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of us that are like that. We're those people.
You were destined to create the Photo Manager Association.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was meant to be. It's been a great gift. I've met the most amazing people. And what I love is when the international piece, I think, is what really warms my heart so much too, because I realize it's again, these people, we exist all over people care about their stories and they care about their legacy. And it's a worldwide, I think if we ask people through every country to pick the 10 photos that they cared most about, that told a story about their family, it would not be a mystery what the world would pick. It's going to be a wedding. It's going to be a baby. It's going to be a tradition, a gathering. It's going to be it everywhere. It's a universal.
Yes. One last question about the association. Where are you getting word out about it now?
Now we done some paid advertising. We go back and forth. We've got a growing YouTube channel because YouTube is the highest search engine. And then I also believe firmly in, I call it riding on other people's coattails, but we have great content. So there's different companies that our members will do like webinars for them. So we build list building, like building your email list.
Yeah.
I do monthly webinars, become a pro, but in exchange for giving really great content, these companies then will send that information out to their lit audience, and then we capture their emails, and it's really kind of a grassroots. We average about 25 to 30 new members a month, and I can go, like we had somebody join from England last night, and South Dakota or whatever, but we can go in and see how long they've been following us before we ever to track that. We don't have that many instant conversions. It's most people have been kind of thinking about it for a while, like 6 months, 12 months. Before they finally make the decision to go for it. So it's a long kind of lead time in some ways.
But that's good information to have to help you not get discouraged as well. Just because they didn't sign up this week and they're new to you, that doesn't mean that they're not going to.
As much as I would love to say, oh, everybody just sign up, but it shouldn't be an impulse decision. It does make sense that then we know they'll be more successful. I think if you take the time, we also recommend that our members, if somebody goes on our website and wants to contact a member and ask them questions, most of our members are really forthcoming and will share information to new members that are thinking about it and things like that. So people should do their homework, do your homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you talked about that community piece. That's so important. Yeah. Cathi's story is a real testament to what's possible when you combine passion, a vision, and a willingness to take the leap. Cathi saw a clear gap. People wanted help organizing their photos, but there wasn't a professional network to support them. So she stepped in to fill that need. In our last episode, you heard her describe the 2 entry points for people wanting to become a member of her Photo Manager community: $299 and $599 annually. So with currently 700 total members, that's some serious revenue. But that enables her to provide top-notch support, training, and certification for her pro members while also building a sustainable business. So if you're thinking that this might be a future component for your business, you want to be clear on, well, number one, your why. Cathi didn't set out to create an association. She simply wanted to protect her work and bring people together. 2, be clear on the value that you offer and the problem that you're solving. 3, what the structure of your organization will look like. Cathi's approach is really a hybrid, a creative mashup of an association and a membership community. She offers everything you'd expect from a formal association, like training, certification, and conferences, but without the rigid structure of bylaws and a board of directors. Instead, she works with an advisory board made up of her members, allowing her to maintain flexibility while incorporating valuable input from the community. This model is a great reminder that you don't need to follow a traditional path to create something impactful. If you're drawn to an idea of forming a group around your niche, ask yourself, do you need the structure and credibility of a formal association, or would the flexibility of a membership community better fit your goals? Or like Cathi, could you create a hybrid that brings together the best of both worlds? Her story is also a very good example of the need for you to obtain proper legal advice from a professional in your country. There are many considerations, from liability and trademark issues to intellectual property protection. The list goes on. Of course, building something like this takes time and effort, and certainly persistence. Cathi's success didn't happen overnight. It required grassroots outreach, speaking at conferences, and connecting with complementary industries. So that could be a fourth consideration. Would you be prepared to dedicate that kind of energy to recruit members, provide value, and grow a community? Despite the work involved, I thought it'd be an interesting idea to explore today. Could it help you grow your business and make an even bigger impact? I'd love to hear your thoughts. In researching this episode, I was reminded of another great conversation I had a couple of months ago. Episode number 114, How to Become a Sleep Consultant for Babies and Toddlers. My guest, Jane Havens, created the Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. And much like Cathi, she offers certification and support for her members. However, I just had a look at it, and it doesn't appear that Jane includes conferences as part of her model. It certainly didn't come up in our conversation. And that's the beauty of creating something like this. And it highlights an important takeaway. There is no rule book. You don't have to include conferences or any specific element unless it fits your vision and serves your community. That's what's so exciting about the time that we live in right now. You have the freedom to design your side hustle in a way that feels authentic to you and works for your audience. Well, that's a wrap for today. In this episode description, you'll find links to my book, The Way Success Works, Cathi's website, thephotomanagers.com, and a link to the full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you want to learn how to bring order and organization to your photos, or you're considering doing it for others as a side hustle, as a listener of our show, Cathi is offering 20% off your first membership payment. Just use code SPO20. That's SPO20. You'll find that info at sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment and add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start or grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.